Hello and thanks for joining us for today's video about haunting online confessions. If you're looking for something new to watch, you should check out our sister channel, Paranormally Listed. In our most recent video, we talk about amazing doomsday bunkers. We also recently posted a video about haunted roads. Finally, we have a creepy video about monsters that stalk the people of small towns. We'll have links to those videos at the end of this video. We'll also have a link to Paranormally Listed in the description box below. Before we go any further in today's video, I just want to talk about our amazing sponsor, Magellan TV. I've always thought that one of the most interesting unsolved mysteries is the Dyatlov Pass incident, and Magellan TV has a great documentary about it called The Dyatlov Mystery, Unexplained Massacre. In case you're unfamiliar with the story, here's a quick rundown. In February 1959, 9 Soviets were on a ski expedition in the Urals Mountain in western Siberia. When they didn't return home, a search for them was launched. The searchers found all of them dead. They had died under mysterious circumstances. Their tent had been cut open from the inside. Then they fled into the cold weather, only wearing the clothes that they had been wearing when they slept. 6 died of hypothermia, while the others suffered trauma that caused their deaths. The biggest question is, why did the experienced hikers flee their tents so quickly that they didn't even put on clothing? The Dyatlov Mystery is a great documentary about the mysterious expedition. I cannot recommend it enough. And this is just one of the great documentaries you can find on Magellan TV. They have an amazing library of over 3,000 documentaries, and 20 hours of new material is added every week. Magellan TV is also a great deal compared to other streaming services. There's a good reason it's often described as a hidden gem. If you haven't already subscribed to Magellan TV, you should check it out today, because they have a great deal for criminally listed viewers. They are offering our viewers 30 days of free service. To get this amazing deal, just go to try.magellantv.com/criminallylisted. So please check out Magellan TV today, because you'll find something great to watch, and you'll be supporting Criminally Listed in the process. Number 3. Christine Billis. By her own admission, Christine Billis didn't have a happy marriage with her husband, Charles Billis. By 2009, the couple had been married for 17 years. They lived in a farmhouse in Brownington, Vermont, with their 2 daughters, plus a 3rd daughter from Christine's previous relationship. Christine said her husband was abusive and controlling. According to her, he abused her and the children. Supposedly, Charles Billis was so controlling that he wouldn't let her have friends or talk to her oldest daughter or parents on the phone. Charles was a well-known figure in the community. He and Christine hosted several local cable shows. Charles was also legally blind and could not drive. On September 22, 2009, 42-year-old Christine and 57-year-old Charles Billis were traveling southbound on Vermont's Route 5A. Christine, who was driving, wore a seatbelt while her husband rode in the passenger seat, unbelted. The car suddenly veered off the road, hitting a pine tree. Fire and rescue teams soon arrived on the scene. When they arrived, they tended to Christine and rushed her to the hospital. She sustained minor injuries. Her husband wasn't so fortunate. Charles was trapped in the car and had to be extricated. 57-year-old Charles Billis was taken to the hospital, but he was pronounced dead on arrival. The police investigating the scene suspected that Christine must have had a medical emergency that caused her to crash, because the road conditions were ideal and the crash occurred during the day. There was a lack of skid marks on the road. She told the police she was on a combination of anti-smoking medication plus antidepressants and sleeping pills. The crash was suspicious, but the police could not prove anything, so Christine was not charged with any crimes. A year later, Christine, now a widow, started online dating. She signed up for the website OkCupid, where she met another user, Kevin Leland. After a few weeks of talking, one day online, Christine confided a secret with Kevin. She had murdered her husband. Christine allegedly told Kevin that the wreck was no accident. Kevin decided to get a recorded confession from Christine. When they met in person, Kevin brought a recording device. During their conversation, Christine threatened to kill Kevin if he went to the police with the information. Despite the threat, Kevin took the recording to the police. The police listened to the recording, and in it, Christine says that she couldn't take her husband's mental and verbal abuse. Christine also said that her husband had threatened to kill her. She wanted a divorce, but she was worried about her husband controlling their children. The police obtained a search warrant and gave Kevin a wire to record more conversations. During this time, the police started questioning Christine. She told investigators that at the time of the crash, she had ovarian cancer and had just undergone a hysterectomy. She also said she had extreme emotional and mental issues. Investigators eventually got the confession they needed and arrested Christine in June 2011. During her interview, she told the police the crash was supposed to kill them both. In her confession, Christine said, "I saw the tree. The crazy part was that it was the most beautiful thing I saw in my life. I couldn't take it anymore. Not gonna leave him with the kids. My intent was to kill us both." The police charged Christine with first-degree murder. Christine suffered a panic attack at her first court hearing before she could enter a plea. The presiding judge remanded her to the state mental facility for evaluation. Knowing Christine's history of mental illness, the judge also requested that she be examined to determine her mental state at the time of the crash. It was ultimately determined she was competent to stand trial. During her 2012 trial, Christine's lawyer requested that Kevin Leland's recorded conversations be stricken for the trial. The lawyer questioned Kevin's credibility due to an arrest after being caught with guns and drugs at the border. There was also speculation that Kevin was trying to capitalize financially by blogging about Christine's trial. But in the end, Christine's lawyer recommended that she take a plea agreement instead of facing a first-degree murder trial. In November 2012, she accepted the plea deal and she was sentenced to 7 to 15 years of prison with credit for time served. She did not apologize for killing her husband and the father of 2 of her children. She only shook her head when the judge asked her if she had anything to say. Her minimum sentence ended on June 25, 2018, and she was released. However, she didn't stay out of prison long. In June 2019, Christine was arrested for assaulting her boyfriend. She was sentenced to 16 months for domestic assault. As of 2021, reports indicate that she's been released on parole. Number 2. Kruse Wellwood and Cameron Moffat. Kimberly Proctor was born on New Year's Day, 1992. Her parents called her Baby New Year. She grew up in Langford, a suburb of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Her mother, Lucy, was a Walmart manager, and her father, Fred, was a diesel mechanic. Kimberly was passionate about animals. She had a collection of lizards, rabbits, mice, and hamsters. Her obsession went far enough that she wore cat ears and meowed in class. But classmates bullied her over this behavior. She also had attention deficit disorder, which made her more anxious at school. Her parents tried medicating her, but they didn't like the results. They eventually transferred her to Pacific Secondary, an alternative school, where they hoped she could get more individualized attention. At Pacific Secondary, Proctor met Kruse Wellwood and Cameron Moffat. Kruse Wellwood came from a troubled background. His father, Robert Raymond Deswayne, was sentenced to life in prison without parole for 15 years for sexually assaulting and strangling to death 16-year-old Cherish Oppenheim in 2001. His classmates teased him about it when the information was made public. Wellwood understood his father's actions, but rarely talked about them. He had legal problems of his own. By the time he was 16 years old, he was caught smoking pot and stealing money from mailboxes. Wellwood met Cameron Moffat in his 5th grade art class. The two bonded over their disdain for their teacher. Like Wellwood, Moffat had a troubled childhood. Moffat had ADHD. A psychiatry report revealed that he was sexually abused when he was 4. His windows were barred as a child because of his constant attempts at jumping out of them. He resisted medication and would cut himself to relieve stress. Wellwood and Moffat spent a lot of time together playing the online RPG game World of Warcraft. Wellwood blogged on his WordPress account that he met the criteria for early warnings of being a serial killer. In 2010, Wellwood, Moffat, and Kimberly now 16, 17, and 18 years old respectively, hung out in a small group. The group spent most of their time hanging out and partying. After a breakup with a boyfriend, Kimberly became closer to Moffat and Kruse. They would confide in each other online. However, Wellwood and Moffat were becoming more unstable. The two spent a lot of time on sadomasochistic porn websites. They also experimented with drugs. They did more extreme activities like drinking blood and other bodily fluids. Their online chats focused on rape and bondage. On March 16, 2010, 16-year-old Wellwood asked an online girlfriend, "What would your opinion be on me if I killed, raped, or brutalized someone?" "I'd be pissed at you," the friend replied, then asked him why he'd do that. "Random person, shits and giggles," he responded. In one conversation with Kimberly in March 2010, Wellwood asked to meet up with her after she finished babysitting. He had something he wanted to ask her about her ex-boyfriend in person, but little did she know that he and Moffat were luring her into an attack. Around 10:30 a.m. on March 18, 2010, Kimberly met with the boys and returned to Kruse's home. She decided to meet them before babysitting that afternoon. The three hung out for a while and chatted. Wellwood and Moffat had a code for springing the attack. One of them would say, "I think I'm going to make some KD." In Canada, KD is a common way of saying Kraft dinner or boxed macaroni and cheese. When one of the boys said the phrase, they attacked Kimberly, hitting and kicking her. They bound her legs, stuffed a sock in her mouth, and covered it with duct tape. As she lay bound and beat up, yet still alive, Wellwood sent her an instant message. This message would serve as an alibi for the boys. Then, for the next few hours, Wellwood and Moffat raped and tortured Kimberly. They mutilated her with a knife and violated her with a lollipop. She died from suffocation after the boys put a bag over her head. Next, they put her dead body into a freezer in Wellwood's garage. Moffat then tried luring an ex-girlfriend to the house, but she declined to come over. The next morning, Wellwood and Moffat stuffed Kimberly's body in a hockey bag and boarded a bus to Galloping Goose Trail. The boys carried her body into the woods and under a bridge, where they doused her body with fuel and set it on fire. Afterward, Wellwood and Moffat carried on as usual. Meanwhile, Kimberly's mother, Lucy, knew something was wrong when her daughter's phone went straight to voicemail, so she called the police. Later that night, a young man discovered the charred remains under the bridge. Kimberly was identified through her dental records. The Vancouver Island Major Crime Unit and the RCMP put together a team of 40 investigators. News reports of Kimberly's murder started to make Wellwood paranoid. He instant messaged an online girlfriend on MSN Messenger and told her he had something important to tell her on World of Warcraft. When the two logged on, Wellwood confessed to the crime. He didn't think that the servers archived chat logs. According to the girlfriend, Moffat joined the chat to confirm the story. In the passing days, Wellwood and Moffat continued to chat on MSN Messenger about their crime. "Since we killed that bitch and it wasn't hard, we should do it again," Moffat messaged Wellwood. In mid-June, investigators brought the boys in for questioning. They built up enough evidence to get a warrant to bug their homes. Investigators collected the boys' chat and search histories. Despite what the boys thought, investigators were able to collect chat logs from World of Warcraft. On June 18, 2010, a month after the murder, the police arrested Wellwood and Moffat. In October 2010, they pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and indignity to human remains. After April 2011 sentencing, Wellwood and Moffat were sentenced to life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 10 years. The judge gave them the harshest penalty possible for young offenders. Wellwood and Moffat were placed in adult prisons with more comprehensive sexual offender treatment programs. The psychology reports stated that Wellwood was a sexual sadist with a high recidivism rate. Moffat was not diagnosed as a sexual sadist, but he enjoyed the thrill of his sexual deviance. Although the death penalty is not available in Canada, Kimberly's parents wanted to see the boys die for their crimes. "Like when an animal is sick, you put them down," said Lucy Proctor. "These two are monsters." Both were placed in maximum security prisons. Moffat was moved to a medium security prison in 2014. Moffat and Wellwood were eligible for parole in 2018. Parole boards denied Wellwood day parole in 2019 and full parole in 2020 and 2023. It is unclear if Moffat was paroled or what his current status is. Number 1. Larry Frostiad. Larry Frostiad divorced his wife Ann Purdy in 1990. The couple had one daughter together named Amanda. After the divorce, Larry, the son of a Naval Reserve officer, joined the reserves. 2 years later, he left to fight for custody of his daughter, Amanda, which he won. The father and daughter settled in Bowman, North Dakota. On May 31, 1995, their house caught fire. Tragically, 5-year-old Amanda was killed in the blaze. Investigators ruled the house fire an accident. 3 years later, in 1998, Larry was 29 years old. He was working as a computer programmer and living in San Diego, California. He also joined a moderation management support group online. The support group helped people who were problem drinkers, but not necessarily alcoholics. Larry helped the group by maintaining the website and posting photos of the group members. On March 22, 1998, Larry shocked the support group. At 12:50 p.m., he messaged the mailing list that he purposely set his house on fire while his daughter was trapped inside. A mailing list automatically sent emails to all 200 group members. The message in part reads, "The conflict was tearing me apart, and the next night I let her watch the videos she loved all evening, and when she was asleep, I got wickedly drunk, set her house on fire, went to bed, listened to her scream twice, climbed out the window, and set about putting on a show of shock, surprise, and grief to remove culpability from myself. Damn it, part of the show was climbing in her window and grabbing her pajamas, then hearing her breathe and dropping her where she was so she could die and rid me of her mother's interferences." Some members of the group were supportive. They believed that Larry wrote this out of fantasy driven by guilt over his divorce. Some believe it was a false memory and didn't take it seriously. Other group members were shocked by the confession. They voiced their outrage at Larry. The division in the group became so heated that an online debate known as a flame war broke out. That's when group members ganged up on each other. The doctor who volunteered as the group's administrator privately contacted Larry, referring him to psychologists in the San Diego area. 3 members of the group reported Larry to the authorities. On March 27, 1998, after Larry learned that people on the mailing list had contacted the police, he called the Bowman police and confessed. Larry was extradited to North Dakota, where he was arraigned on murder charges. At his initial hearing, Larry Frostiad pleaded not guilty. His lawyer argued that his client was taking antidepressants and that the confession was not serious. He also attacked the validity of the online confession. He also argued that the statements made in the online group should be private. The judge disagreed and allowed the confession to be admitted into evidence. Investigators combed through Larry's hard drive and found more incriminating evidence. FBI investigators found pornographic images of children, a federal crime. Investigators also found posts in chat rooms frequented by pedophiles. Larry posted 2 messages saying he had molested his daughter. According to court documents, investigators found abuse allegations from South Dakota Social Services in 1994. Amanda had told investigators that her father had touched her on multiple occasions. The problem was that Amanda's mother, Ann, had reported the abuse in South Dakota, but the incidents occurred in North Dakota. The states had failed to coordinate information, and no action was taken to protect Amanda. With this evidence against him, Larry entered a plea agreement in August 1998. Under the agreement, the judge suspended 10 years of his 40-year sentence, and he would be eligible for parole after 25.5 years. So Larry was sentenced to 30 years for the murder and molestation of his daughter. At his sentencing, the judge said, "Living creatures protect their young. You chose to cause the death of the most vulnerable victim there could be, a child, your child." Despite confessing and pleading guilty, Larry was adamant that he didn't kill his daughter. He maintains that his confession was the result of drugs and depression. Larry Frostiad will be eligible for parole in 2024. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out our new channel, Paranormally Listed. There's a link on the screen now, and there's a link in the description box below this video. Well, that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.